what we got tonight, October Halloween picks. Basically, Robert put together these genres, these subgenres of the horror genre in film, and they're broken down into classics, slash and gore, et cetera, et cetera. And these are some films that we both recommend people should go out and see during October. It's getting crispy in the air, or hotter if you're in LA.
It was in the 90s in LA. Like, come on.
It's too much.
I
It's
know.
too much. Yeah, it is toasty, but yeah, these are good. These are good movies that we recommend, and these are classics that we feel like you guys should check out. So, Robert, what do we have here? What's the first one on your list, sir?
And we did our best to not, because some could show up in multiple categories. So it's kind of we do the best we can. So when
True.
I think of horror classics, I think of one of my first ones. I thought it was Rosemary's Baby in 1968. I think it is, not 86, but
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
yeah.
This is with Mia Farrow and
Yes,
forget the other dude's name.
they did remake Rosemary's Baby though, uh,
Hmm.
and they actually made a horrible sequel with Patty Duke.
Did they really?
Yeah, it's I can't remember. Is
It's
it
from the
whatever happened? Yeah,
70s.
I think so. Yeah, it was around that time, and it was like a made for TV movie, and it's
Ugh,
almost unwatchable. But so
gross.
bad sequels have always been with us, and I think it's you don't you don't think about Rosemary's Baby having a sequel, and I did actually like the Son of Rosemary, the book sequel that Ira Levin wrote. So actually thought that was kind of fun. But so yeah, I'm a Rosemary's Baby fan. I think it's kind of that nice slow burn thriller.
Yeah, good call. And it's Roman Polanski.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it's already shrouded with some
Right. No,
horror,
but
I
yeah, it
guess. Yeah,
certainly is a classic. It is a landmark film and what they did, in 1968,
yeah.
in the 60s. I picked Amityville Horror for my first slot.
Get
There's
out! Get out!
every time there's a lot of flies in a certain area. Not in my place. I'm pretty
Yeah.
clean. But if
Mm.
you're ever like outdoors or at a barn or something and you see the flies, I always think of the scene with the flies, and it's a little trippy. But don't you agree? Amityville Horror is one of those movies. It certainly has become a bloated franchise with like 30 sequels and ridiculous. But people, I feel like a lot of people confuse the origin story. It's there were real murders in that house, which
Mhm.
have nothing to do with the movie, but the DeFeo, Ron DeFeo, it really happened, and it sort of took on a life of its own with urban legends and folklore. That I feel like the movie lives up to the hype. The original one from '79 with James
Yeah.
Brolin. It's
Yeah.
just it's a great horror film.
I still like it. People kind of give it crap and stuff like that. So, but I was 9 when it came out, so I remember and that was still a time like this is all real, and the book had the house layout. I remember reading the book, and at that time I thought everything was real,
Of
and
course,
so it just made it kind of creepy. And the book had actual pictures of the real people, and so it was like, and so yeah, it felt totally real for me. I think the movie still works. There's pieces of it. I think still work well when the real estate lady is showing the house, and it like freezes, and it's framed for like a couple seconds, and it goes right into the killings and stuff like that. I think that still works.
I do too. Yeah, it's great. It's good editing. It works. You believe James Brolin and Margot Kidder is great in that, and you also I feel it's maybe the most unintentionally funny horror movie ever with some of the lines that James Brolin says. Like when he's trying to pay the caterer, checks don't bounce, cash doesn't bounce, checks bounce, cash is cash, and James Brolin looks at him and goes, I'm gonna write you a check. You're gonna be eating your own damn birthday cake or something. And
I
he's
feel like
just,
James Brolin wasn't acting either. I think that
yeah, yeah. I don't like lectures and I don't like being harassed in the men's room. And he's just, but it is a good movie. And the Get Out, I feel like you need to digitally wire in your basement, in your cave, so that it happens when
it
somebody opens the
has.
door.
But yeah, no, and obviously the theme, the soundtrack is
Oh,
killer.
of course, the creepiest.
Uh,
Um,
and then a missed opportunity for the remake that they didn't reuse that theme at least, because I'm like it would have
I
just bumped up,
know.
like it would have made it better. But I do question.
Uh,
Yeah, I don't know if anybody in the '70s had Ryan Reynolds' body in the
no,
2000s.
definitely not. No, nope. You were either a bodybuilder or like your face looked good. That
Yeah,
was it. The Amityville horror theme is the one that goes dun, dun, dun,
uh,
dun, ah, ah, that one.
yes,
But yeah, we recommend the Amityville Horror. It is a good film. I don't recommend the sequel with Burt Young from Rocky fame.
it's a it's like the sequel is like a dirty film. You know,
Yeah, he's like
it's
the child molester.
it is and verges into Exorcist, and it the second film is almost more horrific in a number of ways. Yeah, between the exorcism and incest and like all sorts of things. It's kind of a nasty movie. And then the third
Yeah,
one is just woof, like
yeah. Then they get into the dollhouse.
they can't. Yeah, and then like you said, it obviously it's blown up into. Somebody just contacted me about wanting to be a supporter of the Amityville Shark or something like that. Uh,
What?
so anybody, the thing with Amityville is like it's not the word Amityville is not owned really, so it could
Right,
be you could just do Amityville Jurassic Park.
right.
I'm sure they will.
I was not far from Amityville in Long Island this weekend,
Oh
but
yeah,
I just didn't have the time to like make that trek. But
yeah.
I hear the house looks nothing like it does in the movie
It
anymore.
doesn't. I know the neighbors are pretty nasty to people.
Pretty nasty. What do you have for your other suggestions,
Invasions of the Body Snatchers, and I'm including the '56 and the '78 version because I think they're both pretty classic and both considered vintage at this point.
I agree. Yeah. Which one do you like better if you had to pick?
Probably the '78 because
Yeah.
that's the one I saw first, and it's still the modern version to me. And obviously,
Right.
this has been remade or sequelized.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Scream is great. Um, it's creepy.
Sorry. I apologize.
And I think this all probably like ABC Sunday Night at the Movies is where I saw all these things. I was like horrified. I couldn't sleep. Monday I was at school. I was probably a wreck. But
Yeah.
but both work out. Visited both locations.
You
So
have.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of San Francisco in the '78 version, and then a lot of Sierra Madre and the '56 version.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. They're both great. I'm partial to the 78 one, but I still think the both movies are great, and it's still one of the most terrifying concepts where they could be right next to you and you
Yeah,
really wouldn't know. And that's the creepiest thing of them all. It's what
you're
you
not
don't
you.
see.
Yep.
You're not you.
And what do you got next
Go
on your?
to bed.
That's Body Snatchers. So I've been watching. Meg Tilly has her own YouTube channel,
Oh, really? It's
and
probably
it's
great, right?
she's endearing in a sort of way. And she was
Yeah.
talking about Body Snatchers, and she said that she actually wrote all that dialogue. Where are you gonna go? Where are you gonna run? Where are you gonna hide? Nowhere.
Really?
Yeah, she said that they just kind of let her do her thing, and she
It's the
talked
most
about this.
iconic line in the
I
movie.
know, and I'm like, well, good for you, Megan. She talked about the scream that she did, and yeah, so it's great. She's been interesting to watch. That she's and there's been a couple episodes where Jennifer Tilly joins her, and it is loony,
Oh,
nonstop
yeah.
talk between the Tilly sisters. But yeah,
Like Zsa Zsa and Ava Gabor,
yeah, it's just.
modern. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about her though, but it's been nice to see her talking.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah,
I have a movie next that hasn't aged at all and is perfect with the ending and the budget. It's Children of the Corn. I don't know why. Well, I do know why. I enjoyed the short story from Stephen King. And as a kid, I've heard lots of folklore about this. Like, some adults in my family be like, oh, Children of the Corn, Matthew. It's like Children of the Corn. The Pennsylvania cornfield thing allured me. But it has its flaws, certainly. It has a lot of them. But this is always my go-to every Halloween season. I always kick it off with this. I don't know why, but it has a place in my heart. But don't you feel people should watch this at least once because it has some really good scenes and there's nothing creepier than kids in the corn taking over adults,
yeah.
despite its flaws.
It works for its time. Was it 1984 and
Yeah.
Nebraska cornfields? Uh,
Yes.
um,
Gatlin. He
Gatlin
comes for
is good.
you, Robert.
Um, yeah, and it was also remade, and it was
Ugh.
horrible. I could barely get through it. I don't know if I actually finished it, but yeah, you can't do a between cell phones and all sorts of other stuff, like you can't have a mystery town anymore or
No.
do with it anyway. But yeah, it works. And I mean, I think about it, I drive through cornfields on my way home.
I love that you do that. And you've mentioned that before. And one of our first shows, if not our first YouTube video that we did, which Robert hasn't seen,
Mm,
was about Children of the Corn. We talked about this and we
yeah,
talked about implausibility, how that wouldn't happen today, where you'd realize somebody didn't file a tax return or answer a
yeah.
phone call back. But I always wonder, Robert, if after a good day you look out in the fields and go, the corn is pleased. The corn is pleased. No?
You know, I never even think about it. Every once in a while, I think, because I think probably of you. I'm like, oh, corn. You know, for some people, this would be a interesting thing to drive through. You know,
I love it.
cornfield.
I drove through corn the other day with my mom in Pennsylvania, and I was like, "Oh wow, look at all the corn!" And they live surrounded by corn, and they were like, "Yeah, it's
Yeah, there it
pretty high."
is.
I'm like, "It's so exciting!" I was like, "I want to film like a sketch about science or Children of the Corn." Like Matthew, we're gonna be late for the airport. I'm like, "Yeah, corn." You take it for granted, Robert, but
Yeah,
it's
and
cool.
my mom grew up on a farm, and there's like sayings and stuff. I think she was saying, I can't remember what they were. Like, you know, you at different lengths, or it's uh,
Knee high
uh,
by the
uh,
4th of July.
yeah, and the what's the elephant's eye by something, I can't remember, but
Oh,
there's another one. Yeah, so I'm like, oh, all these things that farm people know. But anyway, but yeah, check it out. It has great soundtrack as well.
it does indeed. We both agreed on, not that we both agreed, but we probably agree on most. But the next one we both selected Carrie.
Yes.
This, of course, the 2004 miniseries. No, I'm kidding. How do you how does
Classic.
have you ever met someone that hasn't seen Carrie? I mean, aside from somebody that would
Yes.
never watch that kind of
Well,
movie.
yeah, people, I mean, I mean, now it's far enough away, people have not seen it, or people know about it and think they maybe have seen it, or feel like they don't need to because they're like, you know, pig's blood at the prom and stuff like that. That's all they need to know. Kind of
Right.
like Psycho. People are like, yeah, I know I don't need to see it, but
Yes, you do.
yeah.
But it's a great film, Carrie. This is Stephen. I think Carrie was Stephen King's first book, if not his first published one, like
Yeah,
of
his first
large
published
scale.
book as Stephen King. Obviously, he
Mm.
wrote some stories and stuff before, and then first movie based on a book, and this obviously began to push him through the stratosphere.
Yeah, and it's a great film. We've talked about Carrie, I think, on the very first show we've done.
Yes, can't
So,
say enough good things about it.
so I'll insert for editing the first Carrie show here, so people have an hour and 20 minutes of Carrie, and then so the show's 4 hours long. No, I'm kidding.
Just yeah, every time we just branch off into a different show.
Next, Robert has Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984.
You know, the original, because it was a little bit of a game changer that
Mhm.
slasher movies had hit their peak pretty quickly in the early 80s, and Wes Craven kind of did another little reinvention, so I wanted to make sure I included that here as a classic.
It is a classic, and I have House on Haunted Hill, the 1959 one. This is like the It's a Wonderful Life of Halloween. It's an old movie. You watch it. It still delivers. It was filmed in that famous house that you've been to,
The Karate Kid
Terry
Part
Silver's
3,
house.
yeah, better known as, yeah, as the Karate Kid Part 3 mansion. Uh,
I wonder if they do tours in LA and they go, "This is where the house on Haunted Hill was." What? Oh, Terry Silver's house. Like, oh, that makes sense. Terry
you know, I
Silver.
could just be really rude. I could just glue a Karate Kid 3 plaque right to the house. Home of Terry Silver, Karate
Terry
Kid Part
Silver.
3. Yeah,
Still a good movie. We both have The
yeah.
Thing, 1982. This is a jumpy film. It gives you a lot of jump scares. It has some cool special effects. This is John Carpenter's masterpiece.
Masterpiece, underrated. That obviously at the time it was a failure, considered a failure.
I
Um,
know.
but and actually, I actually have a Thing poster now up in my bedroom. It's that lenticular poster that was just released a couple months ago that I thought
Oh, cool.
matched my bedroom well.
Oh yeah. No, The Thing's a great movie. Underrated for sure. Wouldn't you agree?
It is. I think obviously now everybody kind of sings its praises. And actually,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the Thing prequel as well.
Yeah.
And
I
actually,
liked it too.
yeah, I actually do like the original, The Thing from Another World. There's
Yeah.
moments in that where I can see Carpenter getting inspiration for Halloween.
He's a toaster. It is cool though. It is a
But
good
yeah,
movie. Um, I feel like I was thinking about this the other day. The Thing, the prequel, the Norwegian, research team. We talked about Alien versus Predator, um, Predators, or Aliens versus Predator
It's Predator.
was so whoever wrote that was obviously a big fan of The Thing because with the snow in the Arctic, and if you remember at the end, there's like the abandoned equipment.
Hmm.
Somebody was probably like, "Yeah, I'm writing Alien versus Predators. I had a couple drinks last night and I watched The Thing, so I got some ideas at today's pitch meeting I want to throw out there because there's a lot of like cues subtly that they
They
put in there."
do, and they realize so like this is where people like the interpretation of like, here's why I think the thing was successful, and I'm like, well, no.
Hell no. We're gonna turn off Alien vs Predators and watch The Thing.
Yeah.
But next we have Robert selected Poltergeist and I selected The Shining.
Yes. So Poltergeist, I still love watching that at least kind of once or a year or every other year, and I have good memories of that. So it still holds up for me. Now, a lot of things I look at all
Hmm.
these all have great soundtracks, and
Yes.
memorable soundtracks. So Poltergeist is one of those as well.
I think every film on this list, my final one is The Fog, which we've talked about before. It's another great John Carpenter film. They all have iconic theme songs. They're all great.
Absolutely.
And
So Shining is great too.
Shining is
Uh,
great too. Yeah. How
I
often do you watch The Shining? Are you like an annual viewer?
Well, by chance, the last 2 or 3 times I've seen it, but actually been on the big screen or a screen.
Oh yeah.
So I saw it at the Alamo, and then I saw it at the Shining Hotel in Oregon, where they shot the exteriors. So
Oh
um,
cool. Oh,
I think
that's
that was the
right.
last time I actually saw it. And it is, if you can see it, go see it in a theater with an audience, it is a different experience. Um, I'm one of those believe that the shy. A lot of Stanley Kubrick. I always see a little bit of something every time I watch it, but seeing it with an audience is there's some just laugh out loud funny moments that I did when you're watching. Whenever I watched it before, it's
Yes.
you're just watching it. In
Right.
an audience, people were howling at different parts, so it's weird the way it changes when you see it.
Always. Yeah. Whenever there's a live audience, yeah, there's certain things that people laugh at that you're thinking, I never picked that up before.
I
You
didn't
know,
think it was funny. Yeah.
I never thought it was funny, and you did. You clever bastards.
Yeah.
But it is cool. The Shining, I respect The Shining. I watch it, maybe once a year, if not at least every other 2 years. But I did watch it recently, and yeah, I picked up on a few things I didn't before, and I just think it's one of the few films that actually scare me. I don't really get scared easily,
Yeah.
but that brings them out.
It is
That
good.
and Mr. and Mrs. Smith
Oh,
scare
well,
me.
just
No,
wait.
no,
So
I've never seen it, but
you
uh,
also have The Fog,
The
also
Fog too.
1980, and John Carpenter's follow-up to Halloween. So another great soundtrack, another uh, Jamie Lee Curtis talks about how she couldn't get a job, but after Halloween, but he hired her for this,
Oh,
and
really?
her iconic mother, Janet Leigh,
Yeah.
Adrienne Barbeau.
Right. Yeah, she's in
Yeah,
there.
everybody.
Yeah. Yes, indeed, Henry. Yes, indeed. I like the fog. I like the location that it's in, like the
Yeah,
sea, the coastal town in California, up north, and yeah, it's a creepy story. Anything with like the lighthouses and the dead, sailors and stuff. It's a good movie.
with Stevie Wayne.
Steve, I've seen the remake too. Do you remember that?
Oh,
Wasn't that bad?
here's the thing. I'm looking at this list, and all the remakes, the Poltergeist remake, The
The
Shining. I mean,
Shining.
Elm Street. Like all these remakes of these movies have pretty much been awful, and The Fog is probably the worst, just for being
Mm,
completely unmemorable.
Complete. I don't think I remember a single scene in it, and I've seen it and given it my attention. Like in the last 10 years, it wasn't good.
You try, but yeah, it's not even worth it. So hopefully John got a good paycheck out of that.
Hopefully, yeah, he deserves it. And those are our Halloween picks for this week. Next week we'll get into some slash and gore films,
Yes.
which you have some great ones on there.